Hey, welcome to another episode of Bram Radio. What number is this?
24?
23, 24? If you watch any of these episodes, you will always know that we are always struggling with the number. And so it doesn't matter. Every single episode for the rest of our lives, we are going to question the number of episodes that we've done. But anyway, first, Angel Force stopping soldier suicide. You know, that's a big problem out there. I want you to go and check these guys out. Right? We'll put the link here on the. Actually, put the link. Where do you want to put it, Zach? We'll put it right here. We'll put the link right here. See it? So you can go and you can check those guys out if you're struggling. If you have things that are running around in your head and suicide ideations based on some of the things that you've been through, man, these guys get it. They understand it, and they have help for you. It's there. It's available. You just have to say the word, and we want you to get the help that you need. So, and then also from my dude Greg at June Shine sent me the fly hat. Thanks, brother. Actually, I got like 6 hats. They're all like different colors. I got red ones, blue ones. I got camo ones. I got a bunch of stuff. Yep, got a fridge full of June Shine, full of beer and all the awesome stuff that they make. So you want to check it out if you like a good solid ale. So welcome to Bram Radio, and we've been missing for a little while. It's just we've been busy, had a lot of stuff going on, but we're back at it. We got a whole bunch of really interesting episodes coming up, and we are going to get into some crazy topics. So we're going to have some repeat offenders. Mr. Clark Bartram's coming back. We're looking forward to that. And, but today we have one of my favorite humans on this planet. I know I say that a lot, but this one here, you've seen him before. Also a repeat offender. But last time he was sitting in this chair, and I wouldn't let him do it this time. Want to give a good, solid Bram Radio welcome to Mr. Sam Bramstead.
Woo! It's good to be back.
And who do you got on your lap?
This is Baxter, Bram Radio mascot.
Yep, he's been here a lot. He's done a lot of stuff. So, Sam.
Yes, sir.
And Baxter.
Yep.
Baxter's been here before.
Yes.
He was on Miles' lap. He's been on my lap. He was farting nonstop when he was on my lap. I hope he cranks one big one over there and just gasses you out, dude.
He knows better.
Oh, no. So he's an indiscriminate farter. Aren't you, Baxter?
Aren't you, bud?
Sam, dude, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm doing pretty good today. Pretty good. Yep.
Doing good today, but does that mean that yesterday you weren't?
1% better every day.
Nice. Ricky Lindell.
Yep.
I like it.
Call back. Yeah. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Way better than I deserve.
It's good to hear.
Because, like every other human out there, we are constantly in a state of trying to be better than you were the day before.
That's right.
And some days are really easy to do that because the day before you were definitely in the hurt locker for whatever reason. You had some struggle going on, you had something happening, and then all of a sudden you're just like, does it get any worse? Today is one of the worst days ever, but there's always going to be a tomorrow, and you get to make that choice. What's tomorrow going to be like? Tomorrow's going to be better than today. Want to know why? Because I said so. And if somebody can take that mindset, you're going to be okay. You get to choose, right?
That's right.
How much are you going to let the stuff that bothers you really bother you? So, yeah. So what's going on, man? What do you want to run through, man?
I want to talk a little bit about emotional stability.
Emotional stability.
Mm-hmm. And control over emotions. Mine a little more specifically than in general.
Okay.
I feel like
we're doing some on-air mentoring right now.
Yeah.
Is that what we're going to do?
Yeah.
All right, my man. Let's go.
I feel like I don't care about what other people think of me, but there's one person that I do care, and that's you, obviously, right? And I can talk hold on, let me back up. If I were at a different job, under a different boss, and I was in trouble, I would act 100% differently than I would with you. With you, I react more emotionally because you're my father. You have, your words hold a lot more water to me than other people. And I feel like I lose my emotional control when I'm getting talked to from you or talking to you. Mm-hmm. Like, I already feel emotional right now just talking about it.
I can tell your eyes are glassing up.
Yeah, and I don't know why. I'd never know why.
Well, first of all, there are different levels of people there are different levels of emotional people that are out there. You have some people like Micah, who's a quite unemotional person.
Yeah.
Right? Well, there's also the people that are on the other side of that spectrum that are, they're going to be more affected by the things that people say. And by the way, I would disagree with you when you said that you don't care so much about what people think. Mm-hmm. I think you greatly care what people think, and that's not wrong. Mm-hmm. Right? The other thing to keep in mind is that you are sensitive.
Right.
Again, that's not a bad thing. But when you're sensitive, you have to be able to manage that sensitivity, because there are times where you are just going to have to take your emotions and you're going to have to set them down for a minute, handle the situation, whatever it is, and then you can go back. You have to go back and visit that emotional side. Some people, it's going to be harder than others. Some people, it's going to just set them down for a minute. But any way you cut it, you still have to be able to be in control of your emotions. Remember we had that situation here? Like, you came home from work and you said you missed it. You should have seen what happened. I guess a guy was all hopped up on drugs and came down and could put his car on the runway.
Oh yeah,
racing his car up and down the runway.
That was sporty,
right? And then he tried leaving, and a bunch of guys were, he was at the end of the driveway, and he was kind of out of his mind a little bit, and didn't really know where he was, and he went up, knocked on his window, and then he kind of woke up and just jammed on the accelerator, shot across the road, and on the other side of the road is basically a quarter pipe. And he went up that embankment, car turned over, jumped out of his car, and then he went over and he tried to get in, was it maybe John's or was it Demetrius?
No, it was John.
Tried to get in John's Mercedes and tried to take it. And then we had someone of staff member try to jump in the car, and like, dude, you almost turned that attempted carjacking into a kidnapping. Like, what are you thinking? And everyone's just like yelling, like, get Steve. And then Steve shows up and everybody's just running around. And Steve was like, y'all need to work on your arousal control. And then just stepped in and managed the situation. Right. And it's Steve, being a team guy, has a little bit more ability because of the vast array of things he's experienced during his military career. Combat situations, people launching, bullets at him and rockets and all the stuff that goes with being a combat operator. And so he sees this and he's like, this is nothing to get really worked up about. It's because there are varying degrees, and a lot of people haven't experienced things to the level that maybe a guy like he has experienced, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a lot of it is what you've experienced, but then a lot of it is also how well do you manage the things that are happening to you in real time? Can you manage it? So sometimes you got to take a step back. You got to look at the situation and you got to say, you know what? I know me. And what I have to do right now is I have to step outside of the norm of what it is that I know I want to do and how I want to respond. And I need to take that. I need to go and set it aside right now, manage the situation. I'll come back and I'm going to look at this. Now, this is going to change your emotional, like the feelings that you have emotionally are going to change as you go and deal with it. Because as you deal with it, the outcome of what you're dealing with, as you return, you've experienced the outcome. You've walked in the front door, you walked through the house, and then you walked out the back door, and then you're going to say something like this, but did I die? Nope. I'm okay. In fact, that was, I managed that pretty well. And then you're going to come back, and this isn't going to matter so much.
You're going to look at that thing that you have just set down, the emotional response immediately, and you're going to come back to it, and you're going to say, that is literally gone now because I actually stepped into it. People who are healthy, have healthy confrontation skills are going to have very little of this over here where that emotional stuff is just sitting there waiting for you to come back and deal with it. People who don't have healthy emotional control in a confrontation, they're going to come back and this is going to have grown. So sometimes people have to take a step back from their own life and take an inventory of how well do you deal with controversy? How well do you deal with adversity? How well do you deal with the tough stuff that's coming at you? And can you manage it effectively? And do you have the emotional wherewithal to take that situation, set it down, go deal with what you got to deal with? Be a handle it guy. Be the kind of man that goes and just handles the situation. If there's something you got to own it. You do that very well. If there's something that you have to take responsibility for because you messed it up, do it. Take responsibility for the part of things that you messed up. And then come back and then visit this after the whole thing is done. And usually you're going to find that every time that you handle a situation and you handle it from a position of health, from a position of strength, exuding the confidence that you have, when you come back, you're going to take a step back from the situation. You're going to look at how it all started, and you're going to be able to very quickly self-diagnose as to how that could have gone differently or how it could have gone better, or just you're being grateful that you handled it the way that you did. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Wow.
So if you so give me a circumstance.
Like, let's see. Like the other day, I was just messing up constantly. I woke up, I didn't make my bed. That's probably where it started. And
why is it important to make your bed right away when you get up?
Because you accomplish one thing. Mm-hmm. And I didn't do that.
There was a SEAL admiral that did this thing where he was one of the leadership at the university somewhere, and he got up and he did this whole speech that went viral about making your bed. That is not groundbreaking information, right? That is not something that he thought up and was just like, I'm going to put this out there and everybody's going to love it. No, that is something that is absolutely 100% common sense. There's a reason why basic training exists in the military. I want you to be able to do the simple stuff before I put a gun in your hand and send you over there to do God's work. I want to make sure you can tie your shoes right. I want to make sure that you can actually shave. Can you wear a uniform correctly? Can you do what you're told? Can you follow orders? And so being able to do those simple things, that's why I've always had you and the other kids, hey, when you get up, the first thing you do, make your bed.
Yeah.
Would I go in your room and see that you did make your bed, be like, Sam?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's where my day started.
Okay.
Not great. I came into work. I had a very lazy mindset. You know, I didn't make a post that was top quality. I didn't communicate my plans properly, and I think it was all just building up. And you called me out. You called me out every single time. And on the outside, I'm going to be like, yes, sir, I'm going to do better. I'm going to do everything I can to change what just happened. But on the inside, everything's like shaking, freaking out, and everything's going on.
Mm.
And it's so difficult for me to calm down in my mind. Mm-hmm. I can't be Micah. You know, I can't just shut down all emotion and be like, yes, sir, I'm going to go do it. It's when you talk to me, I go into my office and I sit down and I think about it, and I have to tell myself he's not mad at you. He just wants you to perform. He just wants you to succeed. And I have to tell myself that, because if I don't, I'm gonna take it personally. But it's not personal, and that's what I struggle with. Mm-hmm. But if it was like someone my age who is just calling me out on something I'm doing, I can calm down because I know he's not like it's not, how can I put this? It's not coming from a person of authority or emotional authority. You have emotional authority over me.
No.
No?
Mm-mm.
No?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. I am an authority. I am your dad. I'm your father.
Right.
I'm your boss.
Mm-hmm.
Right? No, you don't allow people to have emotional authority over you ever.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ever do that.
Okay.
You get to choose how you're going to respond. You get to choose how you're going to feel about something. It happens to me all the time. I got people that will call and they're yelling, screaming, freaking out or whatever. You know, it's like I'm not giving them any space in my brain or emotions rent-free, negative. What I do is I'm just going to be like, got it? So what I do is I take control of the conversation. They don't know I'm doing that, but I'm doing that.
Mm-hmm.
What I will do is I will say to them if they have something that's a really legitimate gripe, I will say, it sounds like you have a really good reason for saying that. I could get offended, right? That is the offspring. That is the byproduct of allowing somebody to have emotional control and authority over you. Don't allow them to have that, right? You do. I get to choose how I'm going to respond. I'm not going to let them choose how I'm going to respond, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when you have that emotional essay, right?
Mm-hmm.
Essay being situational awareness,
right?
You have to have emotional situational awareness. You need to have spiritual situational awareness. You need to know whose you are, right?
Right.
Knowing that who you are in the eyes of God.
Mm-hmm.
But then the people that God has placed over you here on this earth, being me as your dad, right? Your mom, any boss that you're ever going to have, right? Those are people, they have authority over you, but you get to choose how you're going to respond to the things that they say. And they're not always going to do the right thing. I'm not always going to do the right thing. I'm not always going to say the right thing, right? And that's where I came up with I'm sorry, I was wrong. Will you forgive me? Mm-hmm. Right? Because there are times in my life as a parent that I'll overreact, that I will have to come to you and say, so, Sam, when I did this, or when I said that, or when I responded this way, that was completely out of line. And I'm sorry, I was wrong. Will you forgive me? And I remember I was teaching you and Micah when you were really little.
Yeah.
Hey, this is what those mean. I'm sorry, I was wrong. Will you forgive me? I'm sorry. It's the standard. Everybody knows an apology. I'm sorry. I was wrong. I know the difference between right and wrong, and I know that I wasn't right. I know that I was wrong. And will you forgive me means I understand the biblical standard of transactional forgiveness. Right? I'm asking you to forgive me, and I know that I'm not going to do everything right. So God's forgiven me. I want you to forgive me. There are times where I have to forgive somebody else. I'm going to go and mess up. That means that somebody is going to make a mistake, something that needs to be forgiven. If I don't forgive that person, that unforgiveness, it goes from unforgiveness and it goes to bitterness really quick. And bitterness is a strange animal. It's a little seed that you plant in the ground. And when it's in the ground, it's going to begin to get cultivated and watered and fertilized by my emotions about that situation. It's going to begin to take on a little bit of a personality, and that is going to grow roots. And then it's going to start to become a plant. And then a plant is going to grow into a yearling, and then it's going to grow up to this big, huge tree. And over the course of a lifetime or any span and distance in time, it's going to produce fruit. Just because I refuse to forgive somebody. So when I have that seed of bitterness, I need to manage it before it gets into the ground, which means that I need to destroy that seed. And that's what happens when I forgive. I'm not forgetting. God gave me a mind to remember it. But I'm taking that little seed and I'm making sure it never grows up into a tree that produces fruit, because guess who gets to eat that fruit when that tree is fully grown? Me.
Right.
and it is going to taste very bad.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah,
Not forgiving and having bitterness, it's like taking a bunch of poison and making sure that, and me watching, like you offend me, I'm going to go ahead and live that route of unforgiveness. That's going to be like me taking poison but expecting you to be affected by the poison. Doesn't work that way. So I need to forgive. And so teaching you and Micah at a young age to forgive each other, to forgive me, to forgive your mom, right? That's where you're going to find people that are healthy. So you have these questions right now, but these questions are coming from a healthy place.
Right.
It's because you understand that concept, because you guys had that, right? It's kind of like the character piece, right?
Right.
What was it?
Character is the place inside you where the things that you do, the things that you say, and the decisions you make come from.
Right. How long you been saying that?
Oh, I can't even remember.
How old were you when you first said it? Do you remember?
I was probably 6 or 7.
Yeah.
You think?
Right around in there. Yeah, I think 7 and 9.
Yeah.
You and Micah.
Mm-hmm.
And every day before I drop you off at school, that's what you would say. Hey, what's character? Character's a place inside you where the things you say, the things you do, and the decisions you make come from. It's a place inside you. The things that you say, the things that you do, and the decisions you make are going to come from that place, that center, right? At God's center. And then I remember I picked you up from school. I would say, so how do we do with it? I remember one day you just said, didn't do well with it today. Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
Do you remember what happened at school?
Yeah, I laughed at a joke that was said towards another kid.
Yeah.
And it didn't sit right with me.
Yeah. It's the first thing you did when you got in the car is you told me about it.
Yeah.
Right? You remember the remedy?
I don't.
I said, okay, well, what's tomorrow? What's the plan tomorrow? What are we going to do? Because that's fixable, obviously. It's fixable. Yeah, I remember it being just a big, huge teaching point. I was just like, oh, this is so good, right? So it was being able to go to that person and saying what?
I'm sorry. I was wrong. Will you forgive me?
Right. And you went and did it. And so the next day, I said, so how'd it go? And you said, I have a new friend. Right?
Yep.
That's why I mean by it's the most healing thing that you can say. I love you. You'd think it would be. It's not. It's a very overused phrase. But when it's meant the right way, and you have the right amount of heat behind it when you say it, it's amazing. But I'm sorry, I was wrong. Will you forgive me? It takes a level of humility that is waning in this era. Men don't want to have that kind of exposure emotionally. They don't want to look at something, oh, if I say I'm sorry, I was wrong, will you forgive me? That's admitting that I did something wrong. I don't want to admit that I did something wrong. I don't want to live in a lane where I have to have a accountability to my actions. I don't want that. But you don't have that. So when you ask me about this type of stuff and you're saying, so, I want to talk about being able to control my emotions. There's a lot of aspects to it. But the thing is, you're asking the right questions at the right age, doing the right thing. And the mistakes that you make, I'm calling you out is because I want you to be amazing at all times, right?
Right.
And sometimes you let go of excellence just for a second. Well, letting go of excellence just for a second is sometimes long enough to accept apathy. And when you accept apathy, now you're accepting a lower standard than you would ever expect out of yourself or anybody else. But you're going to be like, you're just going to start shrugging your shoulders. Oh, that's just how it went today. That's just how that's how it is right now. Sometimes you got to catch it. Say, wait a minute. Did I just blink? Did I just bow my head to something that I shouldn't? Oh, hell no. And then you stand up and you start sitting up in your chair. You lean in a little bit. You get some angry eyebrows and you're just like, no, it wasn't acceptable. You know what? I got to do things differently. I'm going to do things differently from here on out. And you start talking like that, people around you are going to say, man, what is it with that dude? I want some of that.
Yeah.
When people have complacent words.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a better way to put it.
I had a business partner once, and if you said to him, how are you doing? He would
not answer you. He would ignore the question, and he would just jump into the conversation. I asked him once, I said, hey, why do you do that? And he goes, because you don't really want that answer. So why would you ask it in the first place? We're like, oh, see, that's where you're wrong, though. Because if I ask you, then I am legitimately concerned about you. And I am making sure that if there's anything that is bothering you, that I can help you with. And he was just like, yeah, but that's not normal. I said, I understand it's probably not normal, but I was seriously asking. You know, you ever had any run-ins with that or heard about that?
Yeah, everywhere. Just a few days ago, Amber, one of the Drop Zone mom, we all love her. One of the, I can't remember if it was a fun jumper or a tandem student or somebody went up to her, and this was after her most recent surgery, and they asked how she was. Hey Amber, how you doing? And Amber gave an honest answer like she does every single time. Mm-hmm. And the person who asked the question kind of just gave her just such a rude attitude, saying like, wow, well, why you got to bring my mood down, or something like that. Something that was indicating that what they said, they didn't mean. Like, they weren't genuinely asking how she was. Yeah. It's more of like a greeting, and
what did Amber say?
She was, then don't ask, mother,
Yeah.
She's such a character.
Yeah, it's when a lot of people, to them it's become just it's a conversational pattern to just be able to talk from just a place. You guys tell when it's like, hey, how you doing? So anyway, and they jump right into what's ever. I'm like, did you want me to answer that? No, I bet you didn't. Mm-hmm. I bet you didn't. And so I can see Amber like, oh, you're asking? Well, I'm going to tell you. And then that person saying, well, wait, I wasn't really wanting to know. I mean,
right.
Why would I really want to know how you're doing?
Yeah. And I feel like it has everything to do with how we say our words, how we construct our sentences towards that other person. Mm-hmm. Hey, how you doing? Hi, how are you doing today? How's Bram? What's going on? And I feel like a lot of that starts with modern technology and social media. I feel like the average attention span has shortened a lot, especially in the past 15 to 20 years. And that's just because of doom scrolling, brain rot. People don't know how to have face-to-face conversations with other people that are out there, but especially people that they love. And I feel like social media greatly changes your everyday interactions with the store clerk, with just everybody everywhere. And there's a lot of disconnect happening around the nation, but around the world as well. And it's really heartbreaking to see, because I would personally I'd rather be out there talking to people face to face than over social media, over the phone, over text. But that just doesn't happen anymore, and it's considered being weird. Like, it's weird, almost.
Yeah.
And it sucks.
Yeah, I think it's always funny when, social media has made it, and texting has made it, just created a sense of laziness in communication. So, it's, the other day, I'm in my room, and I'm in bed. You've been to the house. It's a tall house. My room's on the 4th story of the house. Sam's room is on the 2nd story of the house. There's a full floor between us. So for me to be able to come down 2 flights of stairs, I got to come down 1 flight of stairs. I got to cross the whole house and then down another flight of stairs and then cross the house again to get to Sam's room. So I just text him.
Yep.
And Robin, she'll be like, did you just text your son that's in the same house? Like, do you understand that you have just become everything that you make fun of all the time?
You have made fun of that for me before. Texting mom in the same house. I did 50 push-ups for that.
Yeah. And here's me doing it. Yeah. Oh, man. But yeah, I mean, you're right. I think, when I was a stunt guy in LA, I was working on a movie I was working for Michael Bay. I can't remember the movie. I think it was probably a Transformers, or I can't remember what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Or was it The Island? I don't remember. But I remember asking him. I just happened to be standing next to the director for some reason, and he had a 7-camera shot set up on an explosion. I was like, how many cameras do you need for an explosion? And he went into this long dissertation about the attention span of the target audience for that movie. He's like, our target audience for this movie is 12 to 24 years old. So that's our target audience for this movie. He said those guys, because they had so much time staring at PlayStation and Xbox, scrolling through their social media, that they're not going to have the attention span if I just let one camera shot, one explosion play out. And then he said this, which I've never forgotten, and I've actually built full events, arena events, around this one concept of psychology. He said, if you even watch a movie, I challenge you, watch a movie and count every time the camera changes an angle, give it a count. You're going to very seldomly get to 5, unless it's a long take, like the movie 1917. They did a bunch of long takes, and there's like 20-minute takes in that movie. You'll hardly ever see that. The camera angle is going to change every 3 to 5 seconds. And that is to try to, and even during dialogue, you're not going to have a one guy talking and then just have the camera just on him for the minute of whatever it is that he has to say. No, it's going to go to the reaction. And then it's going to be the two of them, kind of like the middle camera there. And then it's going to be me talking, like that camera. And then it's going to be you talking from that camera. And then it's going to go back to the middle one. And then it's going to be a moving shot. It's going to be on a what do they call that? A dolly type thing, a track,
Right.
It's going to be, there's all these things that are always changing. And I was just like, really? He goes, yeah. He goes, and it's because of our target audience, we've lost them to the world of high level consumption and emotional and mental stimulation. It's a thing, so yeah, I mean, you're 100% right.
Yeah. It's a heartbreaking fact.
Well, I mean, it's our culture.
Yeah.
That's going on. That monitor's not on, by the way. Okay. It's just a culture thing. It's just it's our culture is led to an entire generation of over medicated, over caffeinated, over scheduled. You got 5 and 6 year olds that's like, oh, we had to go to, depending on the area of the country you're in, like, oh, if you're up in like the northern flyover states, like, well, I got my 4-H, and then I got to go over to go to my key club meeting at the high school, and then I have this party over here I got to go to, and this function I got to go to over there. But you got 5 and 6 year olds that have their ballet, and then they got to go to soccer practice, and then they got to go to their friend's birthday party, and then they got to, you know what? It's like, hey, schedule one thing a day for your kids, and then spend some time with them. Go and do fun stuff with your kids. It's like you don't always have to be scheduling them for something, because you're setting a pattern for them that is, they're going to think that's the norm, and that if they're not doing that, they're being underutilized. Hey, relax on that. Spend some time with them. Have them sit down, do a puzzle with them, play a board game, and always beat your kids at board games. I don't know why that's funny.
I just wanted to win once, Chutes and Ladders. That's all. That's all I wanted. What was the other one? Candyland?
Candyland? Yeah, you're like 2 and 3 years old.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I whipped your ass every time.
Well, good for you, man.
Yeah.
Hope you felt good about yourself.
Every time. Dude, even if I had to cheat, I was going to win. Your mom was just like, seriously, dude? I was like, what? Could you let him win once? I'm like, yeah, because that's how the world works. Oh, and now it's gone to even Monopoly.
Oh, I refuse to play Monopoly with you ever again.
I win every time.
I mean, when you don't, there's no proof of it, because you just flip the board.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And then you make us pick up the pieces.
It's been years since that's happened.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh, hey kids, can you guys go do something for me? And they go grab. They leave the table and they come back and the board is just destroyed, money and little pieces everywhere. I'm just sitting there like, what happened? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what happened. I don't know. So,
Oh man.
Sam, you're doing fine.
Yeah.
And I think one of your problems is I think you're looking at the one thing that you do so well, which is sensitivity. I think you're looking at that as though it's a weakness.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not. I remember when you were born, you came into this world. Oh, first of all, you're the most hideous kid ever that was born. It was bad.
How did you describe me?
It was bad. What was your nickname?
No, how did you described me a certain way, like me and in baby form?
Oh, it was a glob. It was, I don't know what it was. Like, how did I normally describe it?
A football covered in lard with arms and legs.
Yeah. It was bad. I was like, oh, oof, put it back. I don't know. Yeah. And you came out, Micah came out, and he was just like, I need a quantum physics book, please. Somebody give me something, And you came out, you were like, hey, I'm here. and like, oh, wow, okay. And you were like, just fat everywhere, rolls of it. It was so funny. And then when you would scream and cry, we called you Sponge Sam Squaremouth.
Yeah, that was one of them.
Because your mouth made a perfect square when you would get mad. And then I'd be having you on the diaper table and you have a little baby Woody going on. And then I'm changing your diaper, and then you just start peeing everywhere, and then you're like, ah! You're like mad, and then you start peeing, and we're like, ah! I was like, that's what you get.
This is horrible.
So true. And the bib, I had to change. I was changing T-shirts on you 4 times a day because you couldn't stop drooling, and then you wear a bib, and you have this bib on you, and when I would take the bib off of you, and I would hold it over a sink, the spit would be dripping off of it, and it would have the like viscosity of gelatin. And like, imagine like gelatinized motor oil. That's what was coming off that. I was just like, whoo. So it was, and then in one day, and Micah was pristine.
Yeah, of course.
He was always like super pretty and always was just never made a mess, everything else. One day they switched. All of a sudden, Micah's making all the messes, and Sam is like, everything is like, all of a sudden he didn't need the bib anymore, and he was just like, I'm good. Stopped yelling, stopped screaming, became funny, and then he turned into like the cutest little kid around 5 and 6 years old, and I was just like, what happened? And then Micah's over there, he takes one sip of some kind of colored drink, and his whole mouth, everything would be the same color, whatever it was he was drinking. I was just like, what? Can you not? It's like, that mouth is huge, dude. You can't make it in that basket? Come on. And it was, and then watching you go from that to being the kind of kid who was very ingenuitive, a very engineering mind in how you can do things like get up on the counter. He would take the drawers and open the drawers, bottom one all the way up, the next one a little bit less, the next one a little bit less, the next one a little bit less. And it made a set of stairs. And he would just walk up the steps, and then he'd be standing on the counter. And I would go in there, I would look at him, and I'd look at all the faces of all the drawers are all on the ground. And I would look at those, I'd look at him, I'm like, well played. Well played. It was pretty awesome. So then that's when you got your nickname, Dr. Destructo.
Yep.
Anything you got your hands on, you were going to break. I had apprehensions about giving you bowling balls. Definitely not giving you a hammer, because you're not going to break the hammer. You're going to break everything else with the hammer. Gosh. Yep. Man, being your dad and Micah's dad is one of the greatest honors ever. And Annie's dad,
And it's just whose birthday it is today.
Happy birthday, Annie.
Birthday, Annie. And by the time she sees this, it's not going to be her birthday anymore, but we're thinking about you on your birthday. But as you go through these different seasons of life, right, from being born through childhood, through everything, you know, it's like as a dad, we have to make adjustments. You don't just go to this place where you get to stay in absolute control. When you're in a baby carrier and I'm carrying you around, yes, I have absolute control. But then you hit 2, and then you hit 3, and then you hit the why stage of life. But why? Why? Especially Micah, right? Now I have to explain why I'm doing something. Or if you can't do something, I can't say just because I said so. I'm got to start thinking towards I'm going to have to start giving a reason at some point. Otherwise, I'm going to start breeding resentment in my own kids. So I'm going to have to start having a reason. It can't be just because I don't want you to. So now I'm giving up control and I'm substituting it. So control, absolute control. Mm-hmm. Now I have to start bringing up negotiating ability. And then there comes a point where that shifting is going to go all the way the other way. And that's where we are as soon as you hit your early teen years, right? I have to count on the fact that you know the difference between right and wrong and that you are going to lead your life right. That's where discipline starts to come off. I don't discipline as much. And by the time you were 15, 16 years old, I remember I sat you and Micah down. I just said, my role as a dad has changed. Now I'm probably a little bit more of a coach. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be doing so many push-ups anymore. And now it's going to be, I want you to be able to trust me with your dysfunctions and the things that go south. And I want you to, if you're at a party and something is happening and you can't drive home for whatever reason, or if you make a bad decision in this area of your life or whatever, I want you to be able to pick up the phone if I'm not there and call me, knowing that I'm going to show up, and I'm going to show up at whatever level I need to be able to get you out. Mm-hmm. We're gonna leave, and I'm not going to mention it. We'll talk about it at a later date. And you don't have to worry about reprisals, kind of discipline, get yelled at, getting in trouble. None of that's going to happen. But you may have to face consequences for the things that you have done that aren't going so well. Mm-hmm. And when you get those consequences, I'm going to be right there. We're going to walk through it together, right? And that being a dad, being able to navigate that whole season and being able to do that, it's really important. Because my job is to make sure that you have the confidence to be able to step into life and do it well. Same-sex parent, confidence. Opposite-sex parent, self-esteem. It's up to me to be able to instill confidence. I just happen to have very creative ways of doing that. And that is, I will get you out of your comfort zone as often as I can. And I will make you stay outside of your comfort zone as long as I can. And when you're outside of that comfort zone, I want you to be able to figure it out. Now, I'm right there. Am I going to let bad happen? Nope. But I'm going to be right there, and I'm going to watch. Now, some of that, very entertaining. So entertaining. So good. Especially watching you squirm. I think one of my favorite ones was when I asked you once, what is your most unfavorite job at the drop zone?
Mowing the lawn.
He said mowing the lawn.
Yep.
Zach, what do you think happened right after he said that?
Mowed the lawn.
Yeah. the whole lawn.
The whole drop zone, like all 30 acres of it. Start at that end and don't stop until you're at that end.
No sympathy for me. I don't know.
Yeah, right? Yeah, you've got more time on the tractor than anybody else.
Yeah.
And so Sam does, he gets, I mean, an hour into it, and I mean that poopy pants face. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. So grumpy. Stop, get some water, get back on the tractor, stop, put in some gas in it, get back on the tractor, stop, get something to eat, get back on the tractor, stop, put some gas in it, stop, get some water, stop, but for 3 days. And when he finally got done, do you remember what happened when you finally got done?
I was so ecstatic that I didn't have to mow the lawn anymore. I think you were having a business meeting outside, right here on the marble, the marble stools or whatever. I go up to you and I said, Dad, I did it. Does it look good? And you're like, yep. And then you continued. And I was like, are you kidding me? What was that?
Yep.
And yeah, that didn't feel good.
Well,
But doing it.
later we talked about it.
Yeah.
And that was when I explained to you, I said, now, what happened in your heart when you got done? Just the fact that you could do it, that you knew you could do it, right? Not quitting, staying in it, doing it well. It's breeding inside of you probably one of the number one things that every person needs in a teammate, and that is reliability. I need to know that you can do that job all the way through. And you did it. Your confidence level shot up so much after that. Right?
Yeah, it did.
Even, and I don't remember, I think it was just after that was when you had that little situation at school where, and you were already fighting then, right?
Yeah.
You already started like wrestling, jiu-jitsu, stand-up, you know, you're doing Western boxing, you're doing Muay Thai, you and Deborah.
Yep.
And, she'll love that. And you and Deborah at Coach Tony's class, right? And it's like somewhere in there too, there was somebody at school was picking on a special needs kid. And you went up, you went to the kid and you said, hey, see what you're doing here? And I'll let you get right back to it. But first, I mean, you have to get through me, but what could possibly go wrong?
Just a little guy.
And the dude didn't want any.
Yeah.
And remember I asked you, we were talking about plans. Always got to have a plan. Well, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face, right?
Right.
Mike Tyson. And that's 100% true. Some people can hold on to some semblance of a plan, but it has everything to do with how much experience you have in a fight. But I said, well, what's your plan? You said, I was just going to blast double, turn the corner, pass his guard while he's in the air, give him side control, drop some elbows on his face. I don't think he would have lasted long after. And I was just like, that's a solid plan. Solid plan. But the confidence that you exuded in that moment, you know, let me know that you have what it takes. And that is the number one thing. If I could say one phrase that dads are not saying to their kids, either in word form, in action, they're not saying to their kids, you have what it takes. In fact, John Eldridge wrote a book on it. It's called You Have What It Takes. It's an amazing book. I mean, you know, you can read it over 3 days of your morning smash in the morning before you're starting it, before you head out the door. Like that's how short the book is. You have what it takes. And it talks about that. And I skipped the showing you, like I don't skip it. I do it, but I go straight to the words and tell you, you have what it takes. Right?
Right.
You've heard that.
Yeah.
Annie, right? So that's where the self-esteem comes in. She's not asking, do I have what it takes? She's asking, am I beautiful? That's the question girls ask. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people in their comments like, no, you know, because you got these freaking Karen parents out there that are going to, you know, Karen and Kevin's out there. That's not it. That's not true. It is 100% accurate. If somebody has boys and girls, watch how they behave as they grow up. Boys are going to do boy stuff. Girls are going to do girl stuff. And when they don't, okay, well, maybe you have a different situation on your hands. I'm talking about your quintessential babies that you have that are growing up. Ones like you and your brother and your sister. You guys ask that question. Adrian always asks that question. He asks it differently, though. He just watches me. If you and him are rolling on the mat, he just always checks me. He's just always looking at me. Like wherever I am, he'll do something, he'll look at me. I'm like, why do you keep looking at me? He's like, I don't know. He doesn't even know he does it. It's because he's asking, do I have enough? Am I good enough? Am I doing this right? Do you approve? Do I have what it takes? That's what Adrian's asking when he's doing that.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So you got what it takes. You're doing things right. you know that when you left the house that you were just like, this isn't going quite the way I planned, right? Okay, cool. Come home, let's reset. And we reset.
Yeah.
And now you're getting to the place where you're just like, pretty soon I'll be getting out and on my own again pretty soon, you know? And you have these dreams are starting to come out of you, ideas, and, you know, I'm trying to teach you how to build business and be on your own, do your thing, do it your way, right? The hard work that goes into being an entrepreneur, do it, you know, and you're doing it. And that's the fun stuff. It's fun being your dad, dude. It's super fun.
Yeah, it's pretty fun being related to you too.
It's so fun being related to you.
Okay, child related to me. Oh, I'm going to go ahead and feign being secure right now. Fully secure, dude. I'm good with that comment.
I didn't mean it to come out that way.
Whatever, dude. You're such a nerd.
It's fun being your son.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Gotta cover your balls every time you walk by me because you know I'm going to smack them.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Uh-huh.
It just happens automatically, I think.
Yep.
I do have a question for you.
Let it rip.
What is the hardest part about being a father?
Oh.
I think the hardest part about being a dad is that you come to these places where you look back on all the things that you've done wrong as a dad, and you start to get really hard on yourself, and then you start looking at your kids at times through the lens of the things that you've done wrong, and you start taking responsibility for them. And I don't know if that's right or wrong, but at the same time, it's like, man, is that because of that one time I said this, or the one time I wasn't there, or that one time that I was, you know, did I give them issues now for the rest of their life, you know? And I have I was talking with a team guy buddy of mine, and he said something similar to what you said, Zach. And he said, my biggest fear is that I won't be there when things go sideways, and I'm not going to be able to be the protector. And to that, which I completely get that. I 100% get that. But my always, ever since that you guys were really little, my thing was like, I want you to know the difference between concealment and cover. I want you to know how to handle a firearm safely. You guys were 4 and 5 years old, and I was teaching you how to disassemble a SIG.
Yeah.
You know? And when you're at your friend's house and you come across a firearm in Daddy's drawer, he's going to show you how do you do that. If it's a wheel gun, this is how you do it. If it's a magazine-fed firearm, this is how you do it. You're just gonna have this thing is be in 3 parts by the time you're done, right? You're gonna clear and safe it, point in the right direction, right? First, clear and safe that firearm. You're gonna have a round that came out of the pipe. You're gonna have the magazine, and you're gonna have the firearm. And then you grab your friend, and step away from it, and say, "Hey, let's not play with this right now, and let's go tell your dad that his gun's out and it's cleared and safe and on his bed with the slide rock to the rear." Right? Remember that when you were little? And then getting you on the range, and then getting you good with a pistol, getting you good with a rifle, getting you so that you can handle yourself if something goes bad. We did a podcast not that long ago about, is it okay to fight in school? You get people firing up in the comments. They're just like, okay, well, if that's how you're going to do it, then fine. But I think it's always better to turn. It's like, no. It's like you want your kids to be able to fight for the people who can't defend themselves. Mm-hmm. You want them to be able to defend what is right. You want them to not be somebody who is going to communicate to a bully that it's okay to bully me. That is not okay, right?
Right.
And so being able to communicate that to you guys. And I remember telling you, like, hey, you do that, you're going to get in trouble. I'm going to show up in the principal's office. I'm going to ask the principal, what did you say? What do you say? What happened? He's got to tell, or she is going to tell his or her side of the story, and then I'm going to turn to one of you boys. I'm going to say, what happened? You're going to tell your side of the story, and then I'll look at the principal, and I'll say, what is going to be the consequence? Well, we're going to have to suspend him for 3 days. I'm like, very good. Cool. Are you ready to go to Cold Stone and get some ice cream? That's going to be the next thing that I'm going to say, and you're not going to hear anything about it from me. That lets me know that I raised young men who are going to be able to manage themselves, handle a situation, stand up and be I have a solution to this problem. You are not going to treat people like that in front of me. People that are going to be able to be men of character and have ethics and stuff like that. My biggest fear is that something will happen where it'll pull you off of that path and you end up in the wrong seat of a police car. That you end up making a bad decision that ends you up on the street, that puts you in a place where you go and have to have interactions of some sort medically because you drank too much, you had too many drugs in your system. And there are so many parents out there that are like that were amazing parents, and they did everything right, but the kid still did that thing. Well, the game for those parents that are out there, the story is not over. It's not over. And the encouragement is stay in that game, pray over those kids, spend time with them still. I don't care how old they are. It's never, ever too late to be a dad. And so my fear is that type of stuff. But that fear is starting to fade out now because I see who you guys are, and you're your own man now. And I look at who you are, and I'm so grateful for how you guys have, both of you guys have turned out, how Adrian is turning out now, and being able to say, yep, you know what? You're never out of the fire, but at least you're heading in the right direction, and you know how to listen to the right voices. You have all these different mentors in your life. You and I share a similar mentor in Craig Baker.
Mm-hmm. Your trainee.
Wow. Did you just take his side on that?
That's what you said.
That's not what I said.
Yeah, you told me.
Oh my God.
Before we started.
Oh. You have mentors like Craig Baker, Zach.
Yeah, he's a big one.
Brian Buffalo, who was on this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny Hoffman. So many of these men that are around you. It's like a lot of that stuff that are fears that a lot of parents have has literally been lifted off of me because there are so many people parenting you now. And so, and you know how to pick those people to be able to speak into your life, and you don't have a bad one. You know, so when you ask a question, what is one of the biggest? Is it one of the biggest fears?
Yeah. What's the hardest thing?
The hardest thing. Yeah, I mean, for me, the hardest thing is you start looking at their future through the prism of whatever it is they're going through right now. You know?
Yeah.
So, I think it's kind of one of those things. It's kind of like the way I hear it described about childbirth, because I've never given birth because I'm a man. Sorry, that was for the woke people out there. So I just lobbed that out there. So, but when you talk to a woman who's given birth and she's gone through extreme labor pains, as soon as that baby is born and she hears that child's voice for the first time, she steps into a new season of her life. She's no longer pregnant and uncomfortable and the labor pains and everything else. Now she's a mom. And that is something that is that moment that's so new in this baby that she's holding, this new life that she gets to have a say and shape the direction that they should go. The Bible says that you train up a child in the way that they will go, and when they grow old, they will not depart from it. Train them up the right way. That means that when they get wobbly in their youth, when they start doing things and vandalizing the neighbors' cars and stuff with sliced cheese and
When did you do that?
So, I'm sorry. Did I don't know where I got that. That was oddly specific.
Mistakes were made.
That was oddly specific. But you look at those and you're saying, you know what though? But I trained them right from when they were little. Yeah, they're going to step out of line. Yeah, they're going to do dumb stuff. Yeah, it's like, have I ever done that? 100% still do. But we trap a child in the way that he should go, and when he grows old, he will not depart from it. It doesn't give a specific age. I say when he's 13, he will not depart from it. That doesn't make sense.
Right.
When he grows old is an arbitrary number. So when you say the hardest thing, that is a very subjective question. There's no objectivity to that. There is not one thing that's just hard, and every day there's going to be a different answer that I might give you. But for me, I think it's trusting the process that they are going to make the right decision when the time is right. That's pretty hard until you learn them and you start seeing that they're making the right decisions. It may not be the decision I would make, but I just sit back and just watch and be like, it'll be all right. They're going to be all right. I know right now that if I'm walking across the street and I get smacked by a bus as I'm going to Quiznos, you guys will be just fine. You no longer need me. Now, you just want me around. And that's one of the best places to be as a dad. When your kids want you around. That's fun. And on top of it, it's like you like all the same stuff that I liked, and I didn't force you into doing any of those things. It's just that they're all super fun stuff, you know? So,
yeah, that's true.
Hey, you want to skydive? Yeah. Hey, you want to ride motorcycles? Yeah. Hey, you want to fight? Yeah.
That was a good answer.
Yeah.
I can't express enough how grateful I am for you and the clothes that you put on my back, the roof over my head, and the food in my stomach, and all the great pieces of wisdom and advice that you give me that I choose to listen to sometimes.
I love you, buddy.
I love you too.
I get the hell out of my house. I'm just kidding. The day's coming, dude. It's not now. Just, you're doing just fine. Don't get wound up around the axle on your sensitivities. God made you that way.
Yeah.
Being able to control it and know that it's there, and knowing the time and there's a place for it. Everybody out there has their strengths and their weaknesses. For you, that's a strength. Stop looking at it like it's a weakness. Savvy?
Roger that.
Want to take us out?
Thank you guys for listening today on Bram Radio podcast, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Stay dangerous.